Hello everyone, my name is Bree and today I will be your tour guide through our very first official spooky build. Today we will be building a Gothic castle inspired bat enclosure. Let's get started!
Look at it's freaking bats. I love Halloween.
If you don't want to build for hours but do still want a beautiful zoo, then don't be afraid to use pre-made buildings to fit your vision. As fall is finally here, it's time to get spooky, and today's spooky little friend is the Egyptian fruit bat, but a little more on them later. Right now I'm building the main entrance to the zoo that will act as the back wall of our courtyard. I'm using two of the pre-made twilight entrances and a decorative tower. The wall pieces are various stone walls found in the construction section. I set up a little bit of a pattern just to add some variety. And I like that you can kind of see the landscape through the windows. At this moment, I realized that I made a mistake and one of the left walls must be off a square, but I had no idea which one. Let the frantic sliding commence. Okay, I found it. Now onto the enclosure. Here I'm cutting out a hole in the wall to place the pre-made bat enclosure. This is a lazy Planet Zoo build, okay? We don't need to go into all of the details, even though you definitely can. You can absolutely make this kind of enclosure by hand with all the tiny little pieces that Planet Zoo provides you. I am not that person. Any good zoo will have a restroom at the entrance. It doesn't need to be on both sides like this one is, so I'm just going to cover that up. Let's copy and paste what we have built here and turn it into an information center. Well, it's kind of realistic when you first go into a real zoo. They usually have some kind of information center where you can get tickets and plus-ups and also sometimes maps. So that's just what I'm creating here. I wanted to find the information sign because on the other one we have the bathroom sign, and this will make them look cohesive. It took me a sec to color match it how I liked, and now is the fun part of building the outside tower. I'm gonna tell you our first bat fact. The crew at Planet Zoo actually have a video on the Egyptian fruit bat, and in there they share that these bats are quite widespread. They've been found not only in Egypt but throughout northern Africa and even Cyprus in the Mediterranean. I absolutely love the top of this tower, but again, I'm not a very good builder in Planet Zoo. This is lazy building, and with the fantastic copy feature, you can just copy stuff and move it over. This took me quite a second to highlight everything and get it perfect. There's so many tiny little intricate pieces inside of these towers. It took me several tries that I did not include here. I just added that and this little like turret secondary tower. I added that as well, how I liked. I experimented a little bit with the roofing, but did settle for the shorter one. The floors were easy to put in. These were actually just flat roof pieces that you can find in the build menu. Give it a little rotate so it doesn't look exactly like the other tower, and some fun little windows to make it a little less boring on the sides. This is a great time for another bat fact. This bat fact is brought to you by the information page on the Lincoln Park Zoo. They say that the groups vary in size. Small colonies may have just 20 individuals, but really large colonies can have up to 9,000. They prefer slightly humid resting places such as caves and ruins, and when roosting they stay close together to maintain their body temperature in like little cuddle piles, and that's just so adorable. Did you know that bats are the only mammals capable of natural, sustainable flight? And Egyptian fruit bats are important pollinators for many nighttime flowers and trees. When bats will get a hold of a piece of fruit, which is their prime food source, they'll kind of hoard it close to their bodies so other bats in their colony won't steal it. And when they do get in a little fight over things, they'll strike each other repeatedly with half open wings. Just, I can imagine their little hands just going like whap, 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 whap. And Egyptian fruit bats have eyes adapted for night vision, but they also use echolocation, and they're only one of the 3 members of their genus that use both strategies to find food. So that's pretty cool. The pieces of decoration on the walls here that I'm using are copies of the decorative wall pieces from the entrance. I turned them into a blueprint so that I could just copy and paste them over and over and over again, because we're going to use this on both sides of the wall, and taking each section one by one was going to be really tedious, but Planet Zoo makes doing this kind of tedious work really simple, really easy. Once you get one done, you can make a blueprint and you're good to go. Moving inside, it's time to connect all of the pathways and make our entrances actually usable. I've of course chosen the stone walkway to match our stone building. Once I got the entrances connected, I wanted to make sure that everything would line up with the enclosure, so I just took the path from the walkthrough enclosure and brought it straight all the way to the center, and it lined up pretty good. I just follow the center grid to make a little square courtyard within our courtyard and set up pathways that will connect to the bathroom and the information center. I played around a little bit with what to do in the middle, but you'll see what's coming. The terrain proved to be just like a tiny bit of a struggle, but there were better ways to fix it, but I just moved the paths around. As for the center, I decided it would be really cool to have a little haunted garden pumpkin patch situation going on. I pulled out fence pieces from the Twilight pack and began to outline the entirety of the middle. I used the copy paste function again, lay down the tree, and then went straight into decorating it with all of the cute little pumpkins. There's a great variety of carved pumpkins and uncarved pumpkins, and thanks to the color customization, you can make them all kinds of colors. So I was really just going for a natural looking, variety filled pumpkin patch. I added a few tiny little jack-o'-lanterns in there, or the little carved pumpkins, just for fun. For the grass that covered the rest of the pumpkin patch, they don't really have vines like pumpkins actually grow on, so I tried to go for something that was a little bit messy, a little crunchy maybe. Dry grass, and this elk grass was, I don't know, ashy, gray, dirty. It fit the vibes, okay? With a copy and a paste and a switcheroo, both sides are done. Now for the technical part of the inside, I thought it would be really cool to have a sculpture garden. The Twilight pack has these little gargoyle sculptures, and they're resting on bases that are actually the bottoms of those kind of turret things that we built at the beginning. You can just flip it over and it turns into a base. I copied all of the crunchy plants from the pumpkin patch area, moved it over, and turned it around so it fit in kind of a different way. Transitioning from day to night, it is now time for us to light our masterpieces. I just used a mix of some of the bigger lights to show off the bodies and reflect off the bases a little bit more, and I used the teeny tiny little lights to create different colored eyes. Once those were complete, I used our copy trick to put them on the other side to make both sides of the garden cohesive. Making it daytime once more, we're now going to turn our attention towards the little empty squares and turn them into people-friendly areas for our guests to enjoy while they're in this entrance courtyard. As you can see, I needed to kind of level out that bit of terrain before I could start laying anything, so once that was fixed, we were good to go. I want to turn these areas into little seating / eating areas, and these tables are so cute. They look like little spider webs with little witch hat umbrellas, and the cauldrons I'm placing down are actually trash can. Once those are good, I'm gonna add in a food and a drink stand so our guests have a place to get refreshments. These little pre-made buildings add in a bit of a spooky village kind of vibe that I'm definitely here for. I am just deciding which drink stands I want to put in, which food stands would be best here, and our entrance is pretty much done. It's time for another bat fact. This bat fact comes from Bird Kingdom in Niagara Falls, Canada. Bats are very different than birds, but were once thought to be a kind of bird. Birds have bones in their wings that are like flapping the whole arm at the shoulder, while bats have very short upper arms and extremely long bony fingers. The skin on their wings is stretched between the finger bones. If you look closely, you'll see a hook on the top of each wings, and those are their little thumbs. Another interesting feature of the bat wings is that they are huge compared to similarly sized birds. Bats have solid bones that weigh more than birds do. They have to lift more mass than a bird does. And secondly, the bat's flexible wings give it huge amounts of mobility, but at the cost of flying efficiently. They're not very good flyers, but we do what we can. A bird can fly almost 30% further in the same amount of energy as a bat of similar size. For the decorating of the green spaces in here, I won't lie to you guys, there was not much rhyme or reason for what I was attempting to do here. I just wanted to give it a filled in kind of look with some, more dead plants. I copy and pasted a few different things, and I tried to select specific elements that I wanted to add in, but it just really kind of wasn't clicking for the vibe and the feeling that I wanted to give. So in the end, I did end up just placing every single item by hand, but I do think it worked out pretty good. I was able to get a lot of diversity in the colors that way and be really specific with how I was planning things. Once I kind of got the vibes figured out on one side, it was easy to just transition it to the other side. Adding in some bushes gave it more of a wild look that I think ended up being pretty cool. I think it worked out pretty great. I just decided to use the terrain tool to fill in the different levels of grass and add in some dirt, so I didn't have to plant every single thing in here, but if you wanted to, you definitely could. There's so much detail that you can get into if you want to take it to that level. As these are zoo animals, they needed a keeper station for the zookeepers to be able to access their area very quickly. So I decided to hide that inside of the tower, and it's very convenient. Now let's hit play and see the people come in. Our very last bat fact is one that I am so excited to share with you. According to Oxford University studies on endangered species, the Egyptian fruit bat is labeled as least concern. This means that they are safe, happy, and flourishing in the wild. Thank you so much for exploring with me. And if you enjoyed today's tour, be sure to tip your tour guide and let me know what animal you would like us to visit next. Bye!